Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are going to be talking about a lot of series which has been happening across the world of cricket. Number one, to start off with, the Ashes is ongoing currently, and then the India West Indies second Test match kickstarts tomorrow in Trinidad and Tobago, and then of course the Pakistan versus the Sri Lanka series. Pakistan need 83 more runs to win with 7 wickets in hand. So these are the series which are happening across the world. So we'll be talking about it in depth as to what's happening in the world of cricket. So yeah, let's start off by talking about the Ashes, maybe to start off with, or maybe the India versus West Indies. Maybe let's start off with Ashes because that has been the marquee series right now because it's day one of the fourth Test match, and Australia are 8 down already, and it's been very interesting to be honest because on a day where you really felt like it's been good batting conditions, England has gone to do well with the ball again. Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, lads chipping in with his important wickets, and of course Mitchell Marsh scoring a 50 again. And to add to that, Travis Head as well played a quick fire knock of 50. But ultimately, what has happened is Steve Smith not really been able to convert his score. And Manas Labuschagne did score 50, but unable to convert the score. So the fact of the matter is, Australians did get their starts, but unable to convert the score, which finds themselves in a spot of bother. But time will tell us if 320 odd is good enough on this wicket or not, because it totally depends on how Australia are going to ball in the second innings as well. Welcome, Jen, on the show.
Hi, Naval.
What did you make of this first day's play of Ashes? Because it's very interesting as to the kind of test match it's been so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad to see the resurgence of Chris Wokes as a Test player because I think he's been very underrated to as to what he's done for England,
Yeah,
how much he's contributed for England because he's a phenomenal player to have in the team. He's a very very handy number seven, number eight batter. He can take wickets, and today he's taken four
yeah.
and four important ones as well. You would say because he's got the wicket of Alex Carey. He's gotten the wicket of
David Warner.
Mitchell Marsh. He's got the wicket of Green. So all these players, I think the most important probably being David Warner because yeah, as you mentioned, he was looking good. And 32 of 38, as someone who struggled in England for a long time, you would have said he was setting up for a good score. And for him to come back and get that wicket just when Manas and Warner were trying to build up a partnership, that was an important one. But I'll tell you what, Abel, I don't think these are amazing batting conditions yet because there's something in the pitch. It just seems like one of those, one of those. I would say dead, not dead traps exactly, but one of those booby traps where you see it seems very innocuous, it seems very innocent, but then there's something there waiting to grab at you because it's just that kind of a pitch where there's a slight seam movement. We saw the ball do a little bit for Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, and Boaks. I love how you're not able to keep that straight smile, Abel, now that I've said that word. But yeah, um, but yeah, there's something there in the pitch for sure.
Yeah, obviously, there's something there in the pitch. But what I usually say of a Manchester wicket, you tend to get a lot more movement of the wicket in Manchester, which has not been the case. It's been very surprising, and that's also because English batters feel a lot more confident after the last Test match, where they would want to test out their bowlers, and they also believe with Mark Wood's addition into the team, they don't really need those green tops at this point. At least they've got the skill to go out there and maybe pick up 20 wickets, and they're showing it. Now, I also mentioned in a pre-game show that Chris Wokes is going to be massive, is especially when it comes to this Test match with the bat at number 8. You saw it in the last Test match how he was going to be a decisive factor. And he was always England's number one bowler in many of in these conditions because you saw that in 2018-19 or even in the last Ashes when Australia traveled there. This guy was a massive factor. He could be that batter who could go out there and score those good amount of runs and also pick up wickets because his lengths are very attacking. And if you look at Chris Wokes, the bowler, always one thing which has always stood out from Chris Wokes, the bowler, is that he never bowled defensive lengths. He was always attacking. He was always not shy of going for at least 8 runs and over, but at least pick up 2 wickets. That's something which he always had. Now pitch the ball up and get the ball to swing in and away. And that's something which he showed today once again. How when Chris Wokes is on song, he could be one of the toughest bowlers to play in those conditions. And to add to the fact that you've got Mark Wood to support you from the other end. He was bowling again with good amount of pace. You troubled a lot of batters, and it was not easy going for Australia. I know Australia did score 299 at the end of the day, but the fact of the matter is 299 really a good score at the end of day one with 8 wickets being lost now? Because if England gets off to a good start by scoring 400 on this pitch, then Australia are going to be in serious trouble.
Absolutely. I think one thing that I have to say is that Australia have scored at a very good rate. I would say, especially Smith, Head. Mitchell Marsh, because these guys, when they scored runs, they scored quick, which also shows that it's not exact entirely a bad pitch to bat on. It means you can get runs if you want to find them. But as I said, right, there's something in this pitch for sure. And I think it's important to see whether it is a first day pitch. That's the reason why there's a bit of movement there or not. Or does it get better to bat on as pitches in England tend to do? Or is it something that's going to stay? So that's where the second innings is what I'm really looking forward to, because I think Mitchell starts scoring 23, Pat Cummins, this partnership can still go on for another half an hour, 45 minutes tomorrow. That's going to be the key.
Yeah.
If England can get those early wickets, can get Stark out, can get Cummins out, bring on the next batter, that is Josh Hazelwood, to bat, then I think if they can wrap it up before 325, that's where England will feel like they have the upper hand. And then just what remains to be seen is how that second innings goes, how the day two pitch behaves. Because overall, we didn't see much from the pitch. There was not much. There was even a little bit, I would say, for the Moeen Ali, for the finger spinner. Even though he's bowling round the wicket, he was able to get the ball to just straighten that little bit. So that means I think this pitch might get a little bit more conducive for spin bowling, which
Yeah.
might hurt Australia, because their best spinner right now is Travis Head or
Yeah.
Steven Smith.
Right, and that's where I think Australia did back themselves going with all seam attack, which maybe could have been considered, given the fact that Manchester historically has been a pitch where the ball tend to turn in day 4, day 5. Ball does get a good amount of turn on day 4 at least, and that's one factor which they not really considered in this pitch. And that's why I was pretty surprised as well with the fact that they went in with Cam Green, Mitch Marsh, and the three seamers of Australia with Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. But let's talk about Australian batting, especially. Disappointed again with Marnus Labuschagne getting a start, giving it away once again. It's not the first time he's done it. I think that somewhere down the line he's facing a mental block of, the pressure of not scoring 100 is definitely getting to him at this point, because he's looking good, he's batting well. You can't really find a reason how he's been getting out in a similar way or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, he's still finding ways to get out in different ways. It could be getting out to a spinner, it could be getting out to a pacer on the other day. There are no continuous more of dismissals, but he's just finding ways to get out and not really converting those 30s and 40s. And today, for that example, that good 51 into 90s and 100s, which he was known to be doing in the last couple of seasons.
I think this is a very interesting phase in Marnus Labuschagne's career, Abel, because ever since he's come, that legendary moment where he was brought in as a concussion substitute for Steve Smith after Jofra Archer had knocked him down, and then to come in there and play a fighting knock of 50 odd runs. Ever since that, the world has been at his feet. He's been scoring runs all throughout, different oppositions, different grounds. Marnus Labuschagne has conquered everything. Now today was, I think, his 12th innings. That in 12 innings is his first 50 that he got.
Yeah.
And then he played a very casual shot to Moeen Ali to get out LBW. So I think this is the stage where now he needs to make a fight back, because now the world knows that Marnus Labuschagne can be dismissed. The world and Marnus Labuschagne himself, we know he expects a lot from him himself as a cricketer. Now, how does he make that mental fight back to a player who's to score 100 every third innings? That is the challenge that Marnus Labuschagne is going to face. This is the making of him as a player for me, Abel, and not whatever has happened in the past. Because now the world knows how Marnus Labuschagne operates. Can Marnus Labuschagne show the world that he cannot be brought down?
Interesting, because you mentioned that, because Marnus Labuschagne has got that. He tasted success very early in his test career. He became the number 1 test batter. He has gone on to achieve good things, both home and away for that matter. But now the biggest question is, in a series decider like this, for Australia, this is very important. I mean, they've not lost anything yet. They still have a lot of time left in this test match. But the matter is that if Marnus Labuschagne would have gone to score big today, Australia would have been in a better position. You have been talking about Australia 340 odd with 6 down, or 340 odd with 5 down. And that's a different position, a pair position altogether. If Australia were 3-5 down for 340 at the end of day 1, you'd be saying Australia slightly ahead in this test match. I know it's just one inning still going on, and you never know. England could be 10 for 3, and you'll be like, okay, Australia have done a phenomenal job with 320 or 330, what they might get tomorrow morning. But even for the matter, it came down to someone like Marnus Labuschagne today, because Steve Smith had done earlier, Usman Khawaja had done earlier, Mitchell Marsh had done earlier, Travis Head had done earlier in this test series. But it was upon someone like a Marnus Labuschagne to go out there and do the job today. The occasion demanded Marnus Labuschagne do it, but it just not come good.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. he's just struggled for some time now. He's been struggling, and people haven't exactly noticed it because I mean, Manadla Bishen is a huge name in the cricketing world right now as a batter, as a test batter. He's done really well. This is a slight slump, definitely, and now it's that's my point, right? It's about him finding his way back. But for me, Abel, I'll tell you where the game really changed towards England's side. It was that moment where Chris Wokes came in and bagged Cameron Green and Mitchell Marsh on consecutive deliveries. I mean, in the same over, rather, in the 63rd over, it was 254 for 5. And then from there to suddenly become 250, 255 for 7. And that is where the game changed. And then Alex Carey got dismissed right after, I think, around 30 odd runs had been scored. 294 for 8. That's where the game changed. So 3 wickets in such a quick succession. We know that Alex Carey could have again been one of those players. He's been that player for Australia who's held the tail end together. So his dismissal is going to hurt Australia a lot. Those 3 batters right there. Because when Cameron Green and Mitchell Marsh were going, it seemed like Australia are gunning for a 400 plus. But those 3 wickets suddenly have brought England back, charging back, and now England are in the driver's seat. So I would say that's where the error happened, where lapse in concentration, I would say, probably from Mitch Marsh especially, because you've just lost a wicket. You need to ensure you ride the over out. But for him to not being able to read that in swinger from Chris Wokes, something that he loves bowling, it's a staple delivery of Chris Wokes, him to not be able to read that and then getting out at a very crucial stage is definitely hurt Australia.
Definitely, you're right in pointing that out because the momentum shifted completely towards England, and the scorecard definitely reads different. If it was 5 down for 290 odd, at the end of the day, you would still be saying Australia looks good with Mitchell Marsh or Cam Green still out there. But now, with 2 tailenders, you can say Patrick Cummins can still bat. Patrick Cummins did a good innings in the series already, and Mitchell Marsh is not a mug with the bat either. So you still have to say Australia have got decent number of 20 runs in the bank left in them, or maybe 30 odd, if at all, if you want to push the bar 50 runs. Let's say 350 being a magical score for Australia, but still 350 on that wicket, maybe it's still question marks because it all depends on how England also goes about it. But that's about it from Ashes day one. But let's talk about India, who will be taking on the field tomorrow.
Yeah.
Second test match, India already have 1-0 lead in the series, massive 1-0 lead after winning by innings and 141 runs in the first match. Feels very comfortable. That was like a cakewalk for India, as we already discussed. That it was, West Indies were nowhere there in the game. From the very first ball of the game to the last ball, West Indies were just taken aback. And it just looked like club cricketers versus men.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the last time West Indies won a test against India, both of us were just 2 years old and probably had just said our first words, because it's been 21 years that West Indies haven't won a test, neither in India nor in West Indies. I think it's an awfully long time, and they have been just transitioning. It's been one transition after another transition. I think I expected a lot more from the bowling attack of West Indies, to be very frank. We all knew that it was going to be a one-sided game for sure, but the bowling attack of West Indies has done really well against some really good oppositions in the past, and they've troubled England. They've troubled. I mean, Zimbabwe is probably not the best name to take there, but they've troubled them as well. And to be there with no contest whatsoever against the Indian batters, it just seemed like it was another net training session where some bowling machines were kept on one end and 11 fielders were, I mean, 10 fielders were fielding. It was just that and nothing more. Unfortunately, there was no resistance whatsoever. Nowhere in that match it seemed like that India's win was going to be more than a formality, because it was just a formality. And I think that's where we hope that there will be some competition, some contest that happens when they go to Trinidad. I think that's the next match.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't think so, because this West Indies team really looks down and out. They've not qualified for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And it just seems to have hit them as a cricketing organization. I don't see it a nation as well, because they're also going through an identity crisis. They are not a nation. I hope most of you might know this. They're not a cricketing nation. They're a bunch of islands clubbed together because of their colonial history. Now, those islands have formed their own national identities. Now, the question that has been going around West Indies cricket for so long is, how does West Indies as a cricket organization survive? And series like this is not helping that organization survive, because not just that we didn't see a good contest from these teams, we also didn't see any crowd there. Now, I know it's happening in Dominica, not the most popular cricketing island, cricketing nation in the West Indies, but it still shows that cricket is going through an identity crisis there, and these lads should really step up, because if they don't, cricket will suffer a lot, and it might
Yeah.
go to extinction.
Yeah, that's a high possibility in West Indies, and with a lot of other sports also creeping in quite fast in this Caribbean
Yeah,
islands, and people migrating to USA now, with USA having a lot of money in cricket. So you can see a lot of these players possibly migrating to US, and USA being a powerhouse in the next few years. So these are tough times for West Indies cricket, and that's why you would want players. You saw Altanas play a good knock there. You saw players trying to stick in and survive. In second innings, it was just ridiculous from them. They had no fight, they had given up, they were down and out and tired of being on the field for so long, and they just didn't want to be there. And India also made sure they tired themselves out. They tired the West Indies batters out, though India only scored 450 odd
I mean,
runs.
you have to say India was very merciful, because imagine if this was the English cricket, the current English cricket team, they would have never declared for 3 days able. They would have kept on plundering and looting runs. It was just Rohit Sharma felt bad for the West Indian players, declared at 400, because Virat was, India, not Virat rather, but Ishan Kishan would have gotten a chance. Then you had a long batting lineup. Remember, Ashwin has 2 centuries against West Indies.
Yeah.
So India actually let them out easy and finished the game, because they wanted to side C in Dominica, I suppose, or whatever reason it was. But this test match could have been much more humiliating and embarrassing for West Indies if India hadn't let go and declared.
Yeah, I agree. And you also saw what you saw in the second innings. Ashwin came, picked up 12 wickets in the test match. Let's talk about Ashwin.
Yeah,
Once again, showing what he's possibly gotten in his kitty. Already the leading wicket taker for India in the new WTC cycle. Once again, 12 wickets, and possibly he can pick up 20 wickets in the series, which is quite a phenomenal feat for a
yeah.
two test match series. And I think another 5 wicket haul could possibly be on the cards as well. But Trinidad and Tobago has been raining, and we're expecting a faster pitch in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
which is fast ballers will come into the picture a lot more.
But that's where I really hope players like Alzari Joseph really step up. Able, I still expect the West Indian bowlers to do a little bit better. Batters, I don't expect much. They're very young batters out there. Tej Narayan didn't. He looked like he was playing in Australia and not at all playing in West Indies or his home ground. But then you have to say that Craig Brathwaite and Tej Narayan were the better of the West Indian batters. The rest of them just felt like a pack of cards. Jermaine Blackwood, he just seemed too scared of Ashwin even before Ashwin had balled a delivery. He'd already changed his game multiple. He tried to play. I think to be very frank, on that pitch, I have seen James Anderson handle Ashwin better than what Jermaine Blackwood was trying to do. That's where I was very shocked and surprised. I think West Indies have already been intimidated by the star power in Indian dressing room, and that's what needs to change. This Indian test team is a test team which is struggling as well, and that's where West Indies had their key. I think you saw in that first half an hour, it just seemed like India didn't have many answers to the defense and the sturdy batting that West Indies showed, and that was the only half an hour that we saw them do that. The moment the first wicket fell, it was a Tej Narayan Chandrapal. It was a beauty ball by Ashwin. Then it just seemed like West Indies forgot how to play cricket.
But there was nothing on the pitch as well for the Pacers. If you look when
Yeah,
Pacers balled, it was
I think even
dry.
Ashwin was getting just a bit of turn. He was just Ashwin being Ashwin that he got that wicket. But then from there on, whatever happened was all West
But it
Indies.
just looked
Not
like India were
India.
playing more in India than in West Indies, because
Of
the
course.
pitch was dry. There was nothing. There was dust all over,
Yeah,
and it was just playing into India's hands. It just looked like
yeah.
playing in Mumbai, Nagpur, or Indore, somewhere there. I think that's where it should be changed in Trinidad and Tobago. Hopefully, they provide a lot more in the pitch. The only way West Indies has to make anything in the match is by putting the Indian batting order in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get them 3 down, get them 4 down for 100 odd, and see how things go.
I think you have to put pressure on the younger Indian batters. Rohit Sharma, probably Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli will survive that. But then again, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, all also not coming off of good form. So that's my point table. This Indian team isn't actually look, you forget the star power and look at the recent form. You would actually say that this Indian team is still has a long way to go to be their full potential. Now, Rohit Sharma would be confident. Yashasvi Jaiswal would be riding on a high wave. Virat would also feel like he scored runs. He seemed relieved every boundary that he was scoring. This second test is going to be even more scarier for West Indies. That's what I felt in that first match in itself. They should have seized the momentum. that put India under pressure. The fast bowlers didn't look like they were getting many wickets. Siraj seemed like he was tiring out. Jaydev
Mhm.
Unadkat didn't seem like he was very creative. And the wickets that came, it was not India. It was West Indies gifting their wickets. I mean, it was almost as if a tour package where the Indians came to visit Dominica, and as part of their package, they got 10 wickets free. That's what needs to change. They need to put a price on their wickets, and the moment they do that, make Indians work for every run, for every wicket. It's okay if you lose the game, but as long as you show character, that's what we are all there for.
Yeah, I agree with you because at least you want a better fight from West Indies in the series. And there's just one more game to go. I think the one day series is going to be more exciting because there's
Of
a
course.
World Cup is there in
I
contention.
don't know though, Abel. Again, the one day series, I'm scared it's going to be even worse because now
I
West
still
Indies
think
don't have
limited
anything to
overs is
play
still
for.
better because in test format, it's always tough when you're competing against a higher
Of
ranked
course,
team.
of
And
course.
in the shorter the format, better the chances of you coming
Yes,
closer as
yes,
a team. So
absolutely.
for me, I think the white ball series is going to be more exciting. Considering it's a World Cup, you want to see some youngsters go about it as well. But I don't see any changes in the Indian team. Maybe I would like to see Mukesh Kumar playing instead of Shardul. I don't see that happening either.
Never.
Or else, for me, that's what I'd ideally like to see Mukesh Kumar getting a nod ahead. At least give him here. Why have you been carrying him for last 6 to 8 months? You have not played him in a single match, but he's part of every squad.
Hmm.
Unfortunate for him, but that is what it is. I think he'll have to wait, and that's how it is gonna be. He'll have to wait, most likely even tomorrow. Yashasvi did good. Shubman, what about him?
Yeah, I think that's one thing now. I think one of the things that Shubman will have to face as a number three is that he'll have to start against a turning ball, especially in West Indies. Then again in India, he's not used to that. I think against the spinners, he seems to be a little too tentative. Now the ball that got him was a corker,
I don't think so. He's
and
been good against spinners
I think
usually.
white ball format he's been good
No,
against
even
spinners,
even
even.
the
But I
red ball,
think
he's been good.
red ball, the issue now, when he faces spinners, he usually is already, I think, what, 50 to 55 balls into his innings, or at least 30, 35 balls against spinners. But as a number three batter, now he'll need to start learning to face the turning ball. Because when he comes into bat, the spinner is more settled than he is. Now, usually, as an opener, you are more settled than the spinner. That's always how it works out, right? But now at number three, especially if Yashasvi and Rohit Sharma are going to continue playing how they are, he's going to come in when the ball is going to turn. And when that happens, how much can you really contribute? That's a challenge for him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not up for it. It's just that it's going to take a little bit of adjustment because it's not easy, when you're as an opener, obviously being an opener in Test cricket is not easy. But one thing that's on your side is you dictate the terms. You have the chance to dictate the terms. But as a number three batter and then on, you have to play to the terms which have been dictated by your previous batters or the opposition team. Now that's where the challenge comes in. Now that's where you have to see Shubman Gill how he adjusts to that.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to be interesting.
I agree with you, and that's going to be a new challenge for him, even for the Indian middle order as well. I'd like to see Ishan Kishan get some good amount of runs under his belt.
I don't know if this
Uh,
is a series for that though. Even.
but unfortunately, he's been promoted below Jadeja, which is not the ideal way to go about it, in my opinion. If you wanted Ishan Kishan, Duvali should have been coming ahead of Jadeja at least. At least in match, you would want to try out things. And Rohit Sharma has also clear that there's going to be a transition which is going to take place in the Indian team. So let's see how things go. I mean, that's about it from us for tonight. I mean, we'll be back tomorrow once again as a match gets going, and we'll also be able to talk about Ashes from a better perspective as to where England is going to be batting and how India are going to be, who's going to be batting first tomorrow. I hope India gets to bat first. If West Indies are going to bat first, at least it's going to be tough. At least when India gets to bat first, if it's a good wicket, West Indies can possibly challenge India a little bit more better. And there's a lot of rain around in Trinidad and Tobago from what we hear. So it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be that kind of a turning pitch as you saw in Dominica, hopefully. So which means Kemar Roach, Alzari Joseph, and maybe Shannon Gabriel, if he's fit, also can get a nod ahead and see how he goes about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you for joining once again, and do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and also give in a follow into our Instagram page, and also play our premium contest with Boomer 11 because it's absolutely free to play. If you want to try a free to play fantasy experience, or else you can try a premium contest, and you can also be part of raffle draws as well in the coming days, where you can get the chance to be winning some exciting prizes and also donate the money in the raffle draw to charities. So this is some exciting contest from our Boomer 11's ends. So be a part of our community. Share your thoughts. Ask us your questions time and time again. We'll be happy to take that. And we'll be doing some Instagram lives as well in the coming days. So you can connect with us there. We do take fans on board to get their opinion as well on live stream. That's a very interesting avenue we've set out for the fans and the interaction what we have with our fans, fantasy experience, or anything more as well. Thank you once again and have a good night. See you all very soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.